Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here this morning for the third Quarterly and the Fourth Community Breakfast Meeting hosted by Commissioner Steve Bradshaw, District 4. We, the District 4 team, are grateful to be here and to engage with you at Toby Grant Recreational Center once again. I want to thank the director here at Toby Grant, along with his staff, Director Melvin White, for working with us to accommodate our meeting needs. If you are not familiar with all that Toby Grant has to offer the center here, please be sure to ask the staff before you leave. Today's breakfast is provided by Chick-fil-A, so we hope you partake in it and you're enjoying it. I like to cover a couple of housekeeping matters. It's important that you sign in when attending the meeting today so that we have a record who is in the building. Robin Fleeg, our Constituent Services Coordinator, is standing outside. She provides resources and support and help for constituents who get in contact with Commissioner Bradshaw's office with questions and concerns and comments and thoughts. She's typically our point of contact for the office as constituents reach out to Commissioner Bradshaw. Be sure to see her. If you are not regularly getting updates from Commissioner Bradshaw, we distribute a bi-weekly newsletter that's filled with updates regarding District 4 and the county-wide. And if you're not getting that, you're missing out on being in the know. So make sure that Robin has your email address so that we can put you on the distribution list. The restrooms are right outside the doors to the left. So if you need to, come out at some point, you can definitely go do that at any time. This is Commissioner Bradshaw's 6th year hosting Q4 community breakfast meetings. Commissioner Bradshaw designed these meetings to provide you, his constituents, with updates, resources, and to address constituent concerns and to hear your ideas that will help DeKalb County. Representatives from DeKalb County government departments as well as constitutional officers also attend these meetings to respond to your questions. As a longtime DeKalb County resident of District 4, I'm encouraged by the progress being made on many fronts. Commissioner Bradshaw will provide more details in his remarks as well as department representatives with us today. I look forward to today's updates, and we'll do a Q&A at the end. And just a couple of things about the Q&A. We're going to go around and we'll have a mic, and I typically hold the mic. That helps us with the time management on it. It also helps for our viewers on YouTube to be able to hear your questions. So I would just kindly ask you to refrain or try not to take the mic from me so that the folks that are watching YouTube can hear the questions and hear your responses. I want to thank DCTV for being here. These gentlemen that are with us, they travel with Commissioner Bradshaw on his road show, and they make sure that all the equipment is working and that our viewers on YouTube can see and hear. So that's all that I have to say. Next, I want to introduce to some and remind others that we have an awesome commissioner for District 4. Yes, I'm biased, but please join me in welcoming Commissioner Steve Bradshaw, District 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Good morning, everybody. Oh, God, that was horrible. I'm going to try it again. Good morning, everybody. A little bit better, thank you. So I appreciate everybody being here on a Saturday morning. I know everybody's lives are busy. You have plenty of other things that you could be doing, but that you're here today is a testament to your civic engagement and your interest in your community, and I want you to know how grateful I am for that. We have a full agenda today, so I will try not to take up too much time in my little portion here. But as always, I want to thank the participants here from the administration. They're always extremely supportive of this effort, and it's good for them to hear directly from constituents because they're your constituents as well. So thank you all for being here and your support. You will hear from each of them later. Our headliner this morning will be our fantastic Fire Chief Chief Darnell Fulham. In addition to running a fantastic department and doing a great job providing leadership, Chief Fulham has the good sense to be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, which I do appreciate. So, we got some other Steeler fans out there. I love it. I love it. Go Kenny Pickett. We'll see if he's worth anything. So, and as always, I want to thank my District 4 team. They do an outstanding job. Robin Fleeg out front, our constituent coordinator, Carrie Cordes, our communication specialist, and of course, amazing Chief of Staff, Alicia Brooks. They do a great job. It'd be impossible for me to do my job without them. And the citizens of District 4 are very, very fortunate to have these people working on their behalf. So before I go any further, I want to acknowledge the presence of any elected or appointed officials who are here. I see my friend Judge Hargrove, who always wants to lay low, but Judge, I want to afford you the opportunity to address the folks who are here if there's anything on your heart.
DeKalb County, so when I saw that he was going to be speaking today, I definitely wanted to come out and show my support to him and thank him for the work that we did in Fulton County and the work that we're doing here in DeKalb. So thank you for the invitation, and it's good to be here.
All right, thank you, Judge. Give her a hand, please. At present, I don't see any other elected officials, but if any others show up, we'll make sure to afford them the opportunity to address the gathering. Also, I want to acknowledge any candidates who are here. We're getting into campaign season. This is not a campaign event. This is an official event, but anybody that's running for office, I'll afford you the chance to just introduce yourself and the office you're running for, but no big campaign speeches. Lance, do you?
Good morning. I'm Lance Hammonds. I am a candidate for the fabulous. Good morning. My name is Lance Hammonds. I'm going to be a candidate for Commission District 4. I've seen all the great work that Commissioner Bradshaw has done in this district, and I want to continue that. So thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Bradshaw.
Thank you, Lance. And if any other candidates show up, we'll afford them that same courtesy. And I guess technically I'm a candidate myself. I'm running to be the next CEO of DeKalb County. But again, this is not a campaign event. This is an official event. So we'll keep the politics aside. So a couple things I want to touch on, and then I'll yield the floor. We're in the midst of our mid-year budget cycle. So last week we did adopt our millage rates for the rest of the year going into next year. The millage rate has stayed the same for the last 6 years that I've been in office, so we didn't make any changes with regard to that. And then we'll be offering amendments to DeKalb County's budget as we go through the month of August. So there are a couple things I'm working on amendment-wise in the economic development space, but I'll hold that in abeyance until I get my agenda items ready. But overall, DeKalb County's fiscal health is in very good shape. I commend CEO Thurman for managing in a very competent and very conservative way. And I'll just tell you flat out, when it comes to managing money, the taxpayers' money, to me, the word conservative is not a dirty word. So it's not our money, it's your money. So, and Michael's done a fabulous job with that. I'll talk about Memorial Drive for a little bit. It's the biggest objective of my second term to continue that revitalization project. It's a massive undertaking, but I'm very pleased with the work that's being done by the community action groups, which were citizen groups that were formed in the wake of the economic development study that we passed a couple years ago. And the CAGs are focused on 5 areas. The event boosters are focused on restaurants. LIFT is focused on facade improvements. Then we have the Trees and Trails group. We have the Film, Arts, and Music Entertainment group, or FAME. We also have Lift the Cab, which is focused on the anchor businesses that already exist and recruiting new ones. So, what is that? Oh, clicker. All right, I couldn't be more proud of the work they're doing. And at the end of the year last year, in my discretionary budget, I allocated $50,000 to the community action groups to help them in their efforts. And in addition, money talks. And so each of them have an allocation of $10,000 to help revitalize the corridor. So plenty of other stuff going on Memorial Drive. I won't get into all of that right now, but my intent will be to publish a long update memo probably right after Labor Day, just to give everybody an update on everything that's going on, because it is a lot. So there's that. The other thing I wanted to highlight, just looking ahead to next Saturday, we'll be doing our annual back-to-school drive, where we'll be giving away, hopefully, at least 1,000 backpacks full of school supplies to the kids in our community. The need is there. It's shaping up to be a great event with all sorts of vendors on site on the campus of Clarkston First Baptist Church in Beverly Burks. So looking forward to that. The kids seem to have a really, really good time with the hamburgers and hot dogs and icicles and whatever else we got serving out there. 2 days ago, we had the great privilege of opening our District 4 Community and Senior Center at the corner of South Hairston and Elam Roads. I can tell you that it was an amazing event. Pastor Reverend Higgins was there, and so grateful that she was there. But it was a wonderful event. It was an overflow crowd. People are really, really excited about the center. It looks fantastic on the inside. That I won't belabor it, but you know, that project's been a long time coming. I've been working on that for like 6 years. From the day Alan Mitchell gave me the report, which was February of 2017. And we went through twists and turns and ups and downs, but my focus stayed on the prize, which was getting the mission accomplished. Well, it's done now, y'all. It's done. And it'll be there serving the people of DeKalb County long after I'm out of politics, maybe long after I've left this world. It'll be there. So I'm really, really grateful. Thanks to everybody who came out to support that effort, and I hope you enjoyed the center. And I think with that, I'm going to pause and let us carry on with the program. But again, I'll just thank you all. I'll conclude my remarks by saying thanks to you for affording me this opportunity to serve. Aside from my service as a United States Army officer years ago when I was a young man, doing this job has been the highlight of my professional life. And I'm really grateful that you all have given me this opportunity for the last 6.5 years. So with that, I will yield back to the Chief of Staff, the person who really runs this thing, and thank you all again for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next up on our agenda, and I think this is the first time, Chief Fulham, that we've had you here to present, and this is such a pleasure to have you here to be able to talk with constituents about the Fire and Rescue Department and all that you all do in terms of first responders and being our heroes and sheroes in DeKalb County. So without further ado, I'm just going to ask you to come on up, and he has a presentation that we'll show on the screen.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Well, I have to share, too, Commissioner mentioned that we have something in common as far as our love of the Steelers, 6-time Super Bowl champions. But also what he forgot to mention, do I hear hissing in here? But what else he could have mentioned, that I also served in the military. I also served in the Army for 3 years. In actuality, I would have been serving under him there as well. My rank hadn't reached quite as high as his did, but I am very proud of that as well. So once again, my name is Darnell Fulham, Fire Chief for DeKalb County. I've been the chief now here for 9 years. Previously, I served with Fulton County for 27 years. As the judge mentioned, we've spent many years over there together. So I've reached my 36th year in the fire service. Very proud of that. But one of the proudest moments is becoming the chief of DeKalb County, one of the greatest fire departments, if not the greatest in the nation. So we are very proud. Yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah, very much so. But let me also introduce, in the back is one of my deputy chiefs, Deputy Chief Tremaine McMurray, Cedar Grove's own, born and raised in DeKalb County. He's doing an outstanding job over our planning and community risk reduction section. So does an outstanding job. Outside, you may have saw when you came in, we do have one of our units here, Engine 3. So please feel free to go out there and talk to the crew and jump up in the truck. I don't see any kids here, but we allow adults to get up in the truck as well. So please feel free to do so. And then you may have saw we had a table out front, our Pub Ed group. They do a great job educating our public. There's a lot of great information over there and items for you to take home with you. So please feel free. So I asked Alicia how much time I had, and she said, you have all the time that you want, so I'm only going to take half of that. Let's see. I have the clicker here. So I have up here our vision statement and mission statement. I'm not going to read it to you, but we're very proud of the mission that we have here in DeKalb, and that is ultimately to protect our citizens. And so we do everything every day to carry out our mission. As far as your department's concerned, currently we have 802 personnel. That's if we were fully staffed. That's what's budgeted. Of those members of the department, 694 are firefighters, so obviously that's the majority of our staff. We also have 52 paramedic and EMT onlys, and so I'll explain that to you. And I'm going to talk about our EMS section quite a bit later on. And they say DeKalb County Fire Rescue on those. Those are staffed by members of the DeKalb County Fire Department. And so we expect to have 5 of those trucks on the road pretty soon, which will help augment the service that I'll talk about a little bit later. We have 26 fire stations. So the DeKalb County Fire provides service to the entire county, except for the city of Decatur that has its own fire department, and then the portion of the city of Atlanta that's in DeKalb County, the city of Atlanta Fire provides service to that area. But every other part of the county that's incorporated or unincorporated, we have stations in those areas. And so there's 26 of those that are located throughout. Something we're very proud of, the ISO rating, so I'll explain what that means to you. But our rating is 2. The rating is from 1 to 10, 1 being the best, 10 being not as good. So we have a rating of 2, which places us in the top 3% of all fire departments in the U.S. So what does that mean to you? So the ISO rating is used as part of the calculation for your home insurance. All right, so for your home and business insurance. And so, So having that rating at a go, our rating moved from a 3 to a 2. So if you saw any little savings in your home insurance, that could have possibly been it. But we're very proud of that fact, and you should be proud that you have a department that is serving at that level. So what do we provide? I think this is probably an area that oftentimes I'm asked is, why they see fire trucks at certain incidents when somebody dials 911. So there really is an array of services that is provided beyond just fighting fire. EMS actually is the largest portion of the service that we provide. So all of our firefighters are paramedics or EMTs. So they are dual certified, so they're dual licensed, so that's why you see when you dial 911, if it's for yourself or for your neighbor, or if you see an accident, you will often see a fire truck there. That fire truck, in many cases, will get there first, and they can start to provide the care that's needed. In many cases, when that crew arrives, what they're able to do in providing that assessment and that care. All the equipment that's provided on an ambulance is on our fire trucks. In some cases, the only thing that ambulance is doing is transporting the patient to the hospital. And so that's something we're once again very proud. Not all fire departments train their folks to that level. We do cover the airport. So PDK, we do have a crash unit at the airport in case there is a crash there. Confined space, I'm just going to name these off. High rise, we do high rise rescues. Forestry, we have a unit down in the southeast corner of the county where obviously we have more of a rural area of the county. We also service the parks in that area, if I don't know. But if there was a swift water rescue, we have personnel that are trained to carry out those type of rescues. Dive team, we have an active dive team. In most cases, dive is used for recovery, but if there was a need, we can perform that operation as well. Then the fire marshal and prevention is a key area for us as well. The fire marshal's office, we do inspections if it's new construction or current construction. We do those inspections. Fire investigations, I'll tell you, unfortunately, we have one of the more active units in the state, but we have probably one of the most accomplished in the state as well. I can tell you that I believe right now we're at 7 arrests for arson. So we are very active in that area. When we do suspect that a fire was caused by arson, we are able to fully investigate that and bring those folks to justice. And then our tactical medics, we work with our brothers and sisters in blue when they have tactical call-outs, usually they're SWAT teams, that we actually have firefighters that are trained. They're not only paramedics, but they are also sworn police officers, and they assist with operations, providing care if needed, hopefully not. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of areas, and I probably could even go on and mention some of the other areas we provide. So just to give you some data about our call volume, you can see these numbers here, and I put 3 years, not only because it's good to look back and see where we're trending, but obviously we are all aware of what happened in 2020. We saw call volume go down, actually. In many cases during COVID, we were preparing for the call volume to just go, higher and higher, not fully understanding how the pandemic was going to impact us. We were prepared for that. But in actuality, because folks were staying home, there was less people on the roads, there was less car accidents in some cases, kids were at home, people were not at work. In some cases, folks feared going to the hospital. And so we actually saw our call volume go down. Now, interesting fact, we saw our fires go up. And for every reason that I just mentioned, our fires went up because folks were at home, kids were at home, and I'll talk about this a little later, but our number one cause of fires in the home is unattended cooking. And I believe that there was a lot of people who may have started cooking for the first time during 2020. So in using those ovens and things, yeah. So, but in 2021, our numbers started to go back up. Typically, our call volume does go up each year. It's mostly in the EMS area, because as our population ages, more and more folks are using our services. But once again, I'm going to talk about how you can help us in that area a little later. So last year, you can see we went over 101,000 calls for service. We are the busiest department in the state, if not second. Sometimes us in the city of Atlanta, we go back and forth. I say that with pride of the service that we provide, but our goal is to reduce that number, right? So our prevention group that's out there, they do a great job. Chief McMurray, who's taken that on, our goal is to reduce our number of calls, and we're going to continue to work at that. So I just wanted to highlight one area that I think is very impressive, and I thank you all, the citizens, for what you did when it comes to SPLOS and voting for it and spending those pennies. But we are very proud of the fact down here in that right corner, you'll see that station. If you've been off of Columbia Drive recently, right there at Peachcrest, you'll see this beautiful building that was constructed, and that was built with SPLOS dollars. It was replacing a station, I think, that was built in 1954, I believe is when that building was built. It was our oldest station, very small. But now they have a beautiful new place to provide service from. One key fact I want to talk about, our stations, especially the new ones, they're built with community rooms. So they have rooms like this so that the community in the area can take advantage of them to hold HOA meetings, Boy Scout meetings, those type of things. But each one of the stations are built with one of those rooms. Something else we did in this building, we know that cancer affects firefighters at a higher rate than it does the general public. So we've put in plenty of safety factors in this new building. If you get a chance, go by. They're more than welcome to give you a tour of the station. But that was paid for with SPLOS dollars. You'll see just some of the other areas. You may see those trucks at the top right running around. We call them rapid response vehicles. It was helping to add to our resources in order to provide service, once again paid for by SPLOS dollars. Those are out on the road, 10 trucks that are running around. And then even upgrades to our radio systems, which is something that we needed to do. But you can see the dollar amounts there, and once again, very proud of the fact that we're able to improve our service through the SPLOS dollars. So I wanted to talk about EMS because this is an area that we are really spending a lot of time in working on, and I think that it's important for you to know what's happening here and also how you can help us ultimately. So the EMS transport service here in DeKalb County, the bulk of the transport service is provided by AMR, which is a vendor for DeKalb County that's providing the service. We work with them really daily. There's daily meetings that occur. I meet with them every other week, but I'm talking to them almost daily. And what we're trying to do is improve our service. But one of the key areas that's recognized, not only here in DeKalb County, not even in the state, but nationally, is the changes in EMS service and what is happening in the system. So I told you about the fact that all of our firefighters are trained to the level of EMTs or paramedics, once again, have that same level of care that you'll find on an ambulance. And so our service really is combined. In other words, that's why you see that engine, and then you'll see an ambulance if needed. Our trucks are staffed in a way the same as an ambulance as far as being what we call a BLS and an ALS. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but the BLS is basic level of care and advanced level of care based upon what your need. So we're able to send the right unit to the call when you dial 911. When they ask all those questions, it's very important that you're answering them because that's help us send the right equipment. AMR obviously provides ambulances that are staffed in the same way, and they will respond as well. But one of the new initiatives that we have coming on board is that in order to expand our services, there's going to be what's called a fly car. And so a fly car is going to be a SUV, not an ambulance, not a transport, that's going to have a paramedic on it. So that when there is a need for a paramedic to respond to a call and there's not a paramedic currently on scene, that paramedic can come to the scene and provide service. So what does that mean to you? There's going to be more ambulances out there. Some of them are going to be at that basic level, but when there's a need, once again, for that higher level of care, that paramedic can come on the vehicle separate vehicle and provide care. This is something that is, we won't be the first ones to do it in the nation, but we will be the first ones in Georgia to do this. And this has been found to increase service, and so we hope it'll do the same here. You see the nurse nav. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because I have a slide, and I really want to talk about that as we go through. And then air service. It may seem that that's not needed because we're in the metro area, but we actually do have the ability to call for airback if needed. And so we have used that, especially if we have a call where it's taking a long time to remove a patient from a vehicle. We can call for a helicopter that can come, land, be there when the patient is removed from the vehicle and taken to the hospital. That comes with our AMR contract. So how many calls do they run? So when I'm showing these numbers here, these are just the calls that AMR, the transport service, runs themselves. So you can see the numbers are a little higher than ours because there are times when our fire units are not running when they are. You can see, once again, how their numbers have increased over the years. So what are the challenges in the EMS service? And you probably have heard these stories on the news because it has been reported quite a bit. But what we saw in the workforce, along with the general workforce, especially during 2020, is a lot of EMTs and paramedics left the field. It was, even though the call volume went down, it was very stressing to respond to the calls, especially during the pandemic. You've heard, probably once again reported, the nursing shortages. How does that impact us? When we transport a patient to the hospital, and this is a key fact for folks to understand, a patient transported to the hospital by an ambulance does not get in front of the patients that are walking in the door at the hospital if the level of care is not higher. What do I mean by that? So if a patient obviously is coming in by ambulance and they had, let's just say, a cut finger, if there was a patient walking in the door that had a cut finger and they got there first, that patient on the ambulance is not going to get treated quicker just because they're coming. Some folks believe that you come in by ambulance, you get treated faster. If your care that's needed is at a higher level, then obviously you would. A heart attack is going to be treated before the cut finger that comes in. So how does that impact us? Because of the shortages at the hospital in staffing, our ambulances actually are backing up, what we call wall time, meaning that it's taking longer for them to unload the patient at the hospital. It used to be that we considered 30 minutes to be a long time. That would be the turnaround time. That'd be the time that the ambulance showed up at the ramp, unload the patient, and we're able to get back on the road and go back into service. We are averaging right now 52 minutes. So 52 minutes is how long it's taking. So we have had relatives of patients say, I got to the hospital and my relative is still not here. Well, sometimes they're in the ambulance that's on the ramp waiting to be admitted to the hospital. So it's something that, once again, this is not a local problem, it's a national problem. You all are probably aware of the closing of AMC, 762 beds that were available. That was an extra emergency room. It's having an impact on the entire system. And then this last item, and it's very important for me to explain this. It says overuse and sometimes abuse of 911. So the abuse of 911, that's somebody who's literally calling and not needing the ambulance, not needing services. We literally have folks who will call 911, we get there, and they're asking us to get the remote because they can't reach it. This is real. This is not something I'm making up. So that's what I call abuse, right? But overuse of the system really is in times when maybe there was a better option than calling 911 Because if you call 911, and look, we want you to call 911 if you need it, absolutely do that. But if you're calling 911, the ambulance gets there, the crew gets there, and then the individual decides not to go to the hospital, then all those resources could have possibly been used somewhere else. So we're going to help with that. We're going to help educate our public so that they understand when to dial 911, when that's the best option versus maybe going to urgent care or even just reaching out to your own doctor. So Nurse Nav, this is actually active. You can see up here it says October 2020. This was a program that was brought on during COVID. The folks worked really hard, even though they may not have been in the office, to get it up and running. And so what happens now, if you dial 911, once again, you're going to get a bunch of questions that are going to be asked by the call taker. And if that call is related to a medical emergency, based upon how you answer those calls, they may say that your call, your situation, may be transferred to a nurse navigator, who's actually a nurse, who will then ask you additional questions, but will determine whether an ambulance is the best choice or maybe going to urgent care. So I mentioned that cut finger. We do have people that go to the hospital for cut fingers. Now, obviously, if it's bleeding extensively, you can't stop the bleeding, maybe that's the best choice. But if it's a minor cut that might need a stitch or two, urgent care may be the best choice to go there, because they can do that. And matter of fact, and I can guarantee you this, you will be home quicker if you go to an urgent care than going to an emergency room for something like that, for that minor. So, but what that nurse navigator will do is work with you by you telling them what's going on, and then through that, if the urgent care is the best choice, they can actually help set up transportation for you. So there are cases where individuals don't have transportation. They will set up that transportation so that you can then go to urgent care and get the care that you need. If in some cases, and we found a large group of individuals in this case, that what they're doing at home for whatever they're doing, self-management, may be fine, so they can set up an appointment with their own doctor the next day and then use that service. So that is helping to alleviate calls going into the 911, where fire trucks and ambulances, in some cases police officers, are responding to calls where maybe it's not necessary. You can see here that over 10,000 calls so far have been routed to the Nurse Nav program. And once again, the majority of those do not come back as a need for an ambulance. So the system is working. So once again, if you dial 911, you may find yourself going to a Nurse Nav, and that's what the purpose of it is. So I'm going to move very quickly, because I was asked to just talk about a couple areas, and I think it's important. And even as fire chief, it's always important for me to put on my old hat as a fire marshal and talk about prevention. And so as we go through these summer months, and if you turn on the news, if you didn't know, it's hot. And so so I wanted to just very quickly talk about how you can once again help us, right? Because by doing these things, you're eliminating us having to come to your house with lights and sirens on. So the first item that I'll talk about is just, if those that love to grill, just please make sure you probably have already grilled by now. We're getting late in the year, but just make sure that you have serviced your grill. We have had quite a few fires. Matter of fact, one of our most recent fires, it actually was on the news. If you saw the video, I believe we rescued a dog at that home, and they showed a picture of the fire, and you see the back of the house is what literally is burned. Well, it started on the deck, and we believe that it probably started from grilling. So whether the equipment had been checked or not, we are not sure. Whether they had left, and you'll see here, never leave it unattended. But if they left and the fire got too big, they couldn't put it out. We want to make sure that you do safe grilling. So keep your grills safe distance from your house, even if they're on your deck. It's not where I would recommend, but if you are going to have your grill on your deck, have it away from the house itself. You see here it says never leave fires unattended. That's grills. If you do the pits or anything of that nature in your backyard, please make sure there's always someone there until the fire is completely extinguished. Another key factor for us, if you're going to do work outside, do the work in the morning, early morning, or in the evening. I know it seems like common sense, but we do respond to a lot of heat exhaustion calls, and it's usually because of somebody trying to get that grass cut in the middle of the day or doing some other type of work in the middle of the day. This is important. This happened just last night, but if you hear thunder, right, I always think this is something you probably heard as a kid. I don't know if you heard this, but if you hear thunder, what? That means lightning is close enough to strike, right? And so understand that is true. There is what they call phantom lightning, where, you know, it seems like it happens on golf courses a lot, but where they didn't have any storm in the area, but then there's lightning. That's the first strike, right? But in most cases, just recognize that, you know, if you hear thunder, lightning is close enough. It's time to bring the party in the inside. Once again, these are very relevant to what's happening just yesterday. But if you see traveling water on a road and you're in a vehicle, it's best that you turn around. We say, you know, don't drown, turn around. Believe it or not, it only takes about 2 inches of water to lift your car. I mean, how many of you have ever hydroplaned, right? There wasn't probably a lot of water on the road. So imagine now you're going through what has been basically a river across the road. We have had quite a few rescues from rescuing people out of vehicles because their cars have been slid off the road into a ditch. So another item, once again, educational piece, but often people wonder about tornado advisories versus tornado warnings. Can anybody tell me what the difference is? What's the difference between a tornado? Yes, ma'am. Very good. A+. Yes. So I'll repeat it. But an advisory means that conditions are pretty much right for a possible tornado. A tornado warning means that one has either been spotted, and you, once again, watching TV, they do a great job with this now, but they'll tell you where they have seen the circulation that they believe is a tornado, and you'll get a tornado warning. In Georgia, you know, now this area really from about Louisiana, Mississippi, part of Georgia, this area is called Dixie Alley. Have you heard that term? Right. We used to hear Tornado Alley out in the Midwest. This area is called Dixie Alley. And the difference between the tornadoes here versus out there is a lot of times our tornadoes are what's called storm wrapped. So you're not going to clearly see the tornado, and they happen in the evening times. So once again, think about last night, those storms that rolled through. Our tornadoes are usually not as visible as they may be out west, where you can actually see them. They may be storm wrapped, so they may be difficult. So heed the warnings when you see them. Know where to go in your house and head there if there's a warning. Going good? Yeah. So one other item I was asked, and I was asked why I was asked. I thought maybe somebody was buying an electric vehicle, and that maybe that was why they were asking me about the electric vehicle safety. But it is important. My family actually owns an electric car, and so it is important to know the safety about the vehicles. Very quickly, I'll just speak about what we're seeing. You know, electric vehicles, for the most part, you're seeing more and more of them out on the road. They have been found to be as safe as a conventional vehicle when it comes to a crash. In other words, just the fact that there's a crash of an electric vehicle there as safe. But what you are seeing and what makes the news is when there's a fire. And when there's a fire that results from a electric vehicle, the danger not only for the driver, the passengers, but for our firefighters and anybody else, the officers that may show up on scene, the tow truck crews that may, is that there's an event that may occur which is called a thermal runaway. And so what happens is once one battery catches, there's multiple battery cells in the vehicle if you know about the way they're set up. But once one catches on fire, the process is that they rapidly start to burn, each one burning after subsequent to the other one. And it will continue to burn. And it literally, there have been departments that have discovered that it's taken thousands of gallons of water to ever put it out. In most cases, it burns out on its own. There have been cases where electric vehicles have been extinguished, or at least they believe they were extinguished, placed on the back of a tow truck, flatbed, and catch back on fire, even at the salvage yard. And so that is one of the dangers, is that once again, if you have an electric vehicle, I have here, please let most of them are identifiable, but if you have an electric vehicle, let the fire department or any of the responders that may show up, let them know that it's an electric vehicle so that they'll know to take necessary precautions. As far as charging these vehicles, once again, there's a lot of conversation about are they safe to charge at your home. I can tell you we charge ours in my garage, but one area that is being discussed is about leaving them on charge. They will shut off, right? But then there may be still a load that's being created by them being plugged in. So it is best to unplug them once they're charged. If you're charging them in the home, never use an electrical cord, right? I can even talk about that as far as not using electrical cords for other things. But please don't use an electrical cord to extend the charge cord that you're probably going to be given with your vehicle in order to charge it in your home. It's not made for that. It's not rated for that at all. I talked about ensuring that the first responders are aware. One item that we have discovered, and once again, the officers that are here, police officers, may be able to confirm this, but something that's often discovered is once a electric vehicle is in an accident, they can't move. They have a fail-safe. Some of them have fail-safe systems where they lock the wheels, and so they can't be moved out of the roadway or what have you. So whatever vehicle you have, right, just make sure that you understand the safety rules. There is safety videos on all the vehicles, but just be aware that that may be something that could be of concern for yourself if you have an electric vehicle. So I know we're going to allow for questions at the end, but I did want to thank you for this opportunity to present before you. As I said partially in my presentation, you know, I would much rather that we engage with you this way than we ever do when we're responding with lights and sirens. So it's always a pleasure to come before you and to you know, give some information about safety and talk about the department. And yes, we are hiring. So if you know of anybody that's interested in becoming a firefighter, you can go to our website. There's plenty of information out there. 18 years old, not have had a felony in the last 10 years, high school, GED, that's the start. If you have that, you have a will to serve, we can work with you. And so, once again, with that being said, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I look forward to any questions you may have. One item, too, that you'll see out there on the table, this little item here, it says, look before you lock. This is for anybody who has children, grandchildren. Please pick up one. You can put it on your rear view mirror, and it's just to help you, remind you that if you have a small one in the back seat, to look before you lock your door so we don't have a serious incident. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Fulham. Commissioner Bradshaw, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, we hear me. So before we proceed with Alicia running the show, I wanted to acknowledge other elected officials and candidates who walked in since we started. So elected officials first. So I see Stone Mountain City Council person, if you would.
Good morning, everybody. Shahara Johnson, Stone Mountain City Council. Just happy to be here, happy to support Commissioner Bradshaw and hear more about what's going on across District 4.
Give her a hand, thanks. And candidates. So just introduce yourself and the office that you're running for.
Good morning, and thank you for the presentation. Also, thank you for the beautiful experience I have with Commissioner Bradshaw. And Alicia, can't forget about you. So I'm very glad to be here. My name is Jacqueline Adams, and I am running for District 7 Commissioner, and I would love your support. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jacqueline. I believe we have at least one more candidate here.
Thank you, Commissioner Bradshaw. And I do see Judge Hargrove in the section, so I wanted to acknowledge one of our political judges here in DeKalb County. My name is Tyshawn Jackson, and I am running for State Court Judge of DeKalb County. It is an open seat, so therefore there will be no incumbent running for the seat, and I would love to have everyone's support. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I think that's it for now. And just so everybody has clarity on my methodology, I do that because running for office is hard. Running for office is very hard. So anybody who has the gumption to put themselves forward and take the slings and arrows attendant with being a candidate and being an elected official, I'm always going to give them a chance just to express themselves. So I will yield back to my Chief of Staff.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chief Fulham, thank you so much for the presentation and for the information. And I'm glad that somebody asked about electrical fires with automobiles. That was a lot of good information. Thank you. Next up on the agenda would be representation from our DeKalb County Police Department and Captain Y.C. Barron, Major Y.C. Barron, if you would please introduce the representatives here in the room.
Can you hear me? Oh, I can hear myself. Oh, Jesus. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I would like to first, on behalf of DeKalb County, thank each and every last one of you. Your presence shows not only your commitment to your community, but also your support of Commissioner Bradshaw and the wonderful things that he's doing here in District 4. So I would like to say thank you to each and every last one of you for coming. Today we have our Assistant Chief, our Assistant Chief Hughes. He is the chief over the Uniform Division. Uniform Division encompasses the officers that respond to the 911 calls that you see out on the road. Also our Community Policing Unit, our PALS Unit, and our Mobile Crisis Unit. And I may have left a unit out. He has so much under his umbrella, but he is in attendance on today. I am Major Barron. Forgot about myself. I'm Major Barron. I am the precinct commander over East Precinct, which encompasses much of the District 4. Along with me today is our assistant precinct commander over East Precinct, Captain Berg, and Tucker Precinct, which encompasses a small part of District 4. That is going to be our Lieutenant Smith. He is one of the commanders at the Tucker Precinct. Want me to go?
Yep, if they want to say anything, please.
Just real quick, when I attended my my first event with Commissioner Bradshaw, I was a week into my just getting promoted to captain here at East Precinct, and now I am 6 months into it, and I will tell you, in the last 6 months, I have learned so much, and it's an absolute truth that you learn something new every day. But I'm happy to be here and happy to see such a great attendance for Commissioner Bradshaw. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Lieutenant Smith again. Just wanted to say hi. I'm glad to be here, and this is actually one of my first times doing something like this, so I'm eager to learn. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.
We need a mic.
He has donated a tremendous amount of funds to help us with speed trailers and other things that we've been able to utilize to help keep the community safe. So thank you, Commissioner, for your continued support for us, and we are always here if you need us.
Anything else?
Yes, just,
Yes, ma'am.
I did want to cover, just some little, we could call housekeeping things. In regards to our crime stats, year to date compared to this time last year, we are showing a slight increase in our person-on-person crimes, which is going to be your homicides, your aggravated assaults, your armed robberies, as well as our property crimes, which is going to be your burglaries, your stolen vehicles, and your entering autos. And although we're showing that increase, we are still falling below the FBI national average for a county our size. As well as with that increase, we're also showing an increase in our police response activity. And the reason that is important is in spite of the increase in the criminal activity, we are still showing that the police officers out here, we are doing our very best to respond, also deter, and to do follow-up, assist with follow-up prosecution on the criminal activity that you all are going through. So that is very important. One of the things that we're showing that is spiking up our crimes is going to be our stolen vehicles and our entering autos and the stolen guns that we are finding in the hands of the criminals that unfortunately are being stolen out of the vehicles. So if I can push any tip out here today, please let's, and this is one of my mottos, we're here to police for you, but it also going to start with us policing ourselves as the residents and business owners and business workers and visitors in DeKalb County. We're still getting an abundance of reports of entering autos where when we're asking what was stolen, purses, laptops, cell phones, and firearms. And so we're just asking if we can. It's, at the end of the day, no one even wants you to have to put out money to repair your window of your stolen vehicle. But when they now have your computers that a lot of time have your personal information on it, now you're not only having to deal with trying to get a window repair, but now you're having to cancel credit cards. You're having to worry about identity theft. When you're leaving your guns in the cars, not only are you, again, having to repair a window, but now we have to wonder what the person is going to go out and do with that gun. So please, let's also just try and govern ourselves accordingly, because we can only do our best, but if you do your best, we do our best, we're going to have this on lock, as the children say. So I just had wanted to push that out there, and one of the things for me is I don't like to do much talking, because I can tell you what I think you want to hear or need to hear, but it's most importantly that you all have an opportunity to ask your questions so that we can make sure that you leave out of here with knowledge. So I will leave the rest of the time for the Q&A.
All right. Thank you. And Major Barron, could you also just share with the audience the outreach that's done in the police department, in particular you do the Coffee with the Cop and the Major's Night Out?
Yes. Thank you. So she not only good for Commissioner Bradshaw, but she keep us on our toes as well. It's a joint effort. It's a joint effort. So every month, each precinct, we have Coffee with a Cop, and that is going to be like at your Chick-fil-A's, it'll be at your Panera Breads, little small coffee shops, because we also trying to, businesses or business owners that want to bring their business to DeKalb, we also want to go out to those locations as well. But that is when you can come out in the morning time, as it says, Coffee with the Cop, sometimes breakfast with some of us, and we're, just discussing things that is happening in the community. We also have what we call our Majors Night Out, and that is for someone that's not able to make the coffee with the cup. We want you to be able to, if evening time is better for you, be able to come out and meet your major, as well as some of the other commanders, sergeants, and officers and detectives in that precinct. You'll be able to come out and talk with us. We have it in the communities as well as we go to the actual businesses, try and set up there as well. We also, every month, we would have our community engagement. Now, this is going to be for the residences and business owners that cannot come out to any physical location, but we will offer that on Zoom. And that is where you can log on and you have the same opportunity. One of the things that we do with our community engagement on Zoom is we also try and take that opportunity to highlight the different entities here in DeKalb, because again, police, you know, in this growing thing that we say, we are social workers, we are, you know, teachers, sometimes we're called to parent. The many hats that we wear, a lot of times is because the residences and business owners don't know about the other entities that wonderful DeKalb have. So we try and take that opportunity to also highlight one of the entities, like we had sanitation on, we had the tax commissioner on 1 month. So we just want to, you know, share that opportunity when we can pull individuals in, also allow them to come and share. We also have our clergy meeting. That is also once a month, and that is where we want to engage with the other leaders in the community, which is very important. We as first responders are not, we are important, but I find that there are other leaders in the communities that are just as important, especially our clergy. I have learned that before they will listen to us, a lot of times they're going to listen to their pastors and their bishops. So we also try and have that engagement with them, and also tap into some of the things that they're doing at the church where we can come and fellowship with them to also reach their, you know, their congregation. We also have, and I don't want to miss anything, is that all pretty much the community engagements that we have? I think I touched on all of them. So we pretty much try and meet everybody at their point in need, as well as, if none of those work for you, you can always reach out to your precinct commander and ask that we come. You may have a what we call the your homeowners association annual meetings. If you all want to invite us to come and speak there, we would do it as well. So it's not just always on our timing, but we're here for you. So we're going to put ourselves on your time.
That's right. You absolutely have worked with District 4 anytime we've had constituents reach out to us and they want to have a meeting, and it might be a meeting of 5 homeowners that have a concern. Our law enforcement, police officers, the leadership make themselves available. So that's a absolutely invaluable resource that these men and women provide us. So thank you. Thank you for the overview. All right, next up on our list, we're going to hear from Code Compliance Director Tim Hardy. Director Hardy?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy Hardy. I am Deputy Director of Code Compliance for DeKalb County. Code Compliance, of course, we are the regulatory compliance arm for all private property violations in DeKalb, and those are your housing codes, your zoning codes, property maintenance, business license, things of that nature. Most of you call in for service requests for things like building without permits, the junk vehicles you may see in your neighbor's yards, folks parking on the grass, high weeds and grass. That's a big deal, particularly during the growing season. Commissioner mentioned mid-year. We have a budget of about $5 million. We have 63 employees. 49 of those are field officers, and we have another 5 supervisors. We typically handle about 800 service requests per month. This past month in June, we had 1079, so a little over 1,000. So this is kind of the peak season for us. Towards September, October, that number would decrease slightly, but the average is typically around 800 or so. Some of the highlights, as you know, the video surveillance ordinance went into effect June 30th. Those inspections are starting immediately. We have about 243 gas stations and convenience stores that we'll be inspecting for the proper video surveillance equipment. So those are the businesses that they affect now. There could be, or what we call monitored businesses, if they have some ongoing issues, or if the police determine that those are problem businesses, they could fit in that category too, or the ordinance could be applied to them. International Property Maintenance Code, we'll be bringing that back to the PEX committee probably in less than 30 days. So we hope to push that through to the BOC rather quickly. And as the chief mentioned, we're hiring as well. We have about 7 officers that will start their training at the next pay period, and we have another 7 vacancies we're looking to fill. So if you know anybody that might be a good fit for code compliance, please send them my way. The job is posted indefinitely right now. So just have them go to the website and take a look, see. And I'll be here for questions at the end.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Hardy. So I just want to underscore something, and if you would speak to this. So I introduced Director Hardy code compliance, not code enforcement, but code compliance. You want to talk about that?
So code compliance, code enforcement, for a long time the terms have been interchangeable. What's happened in the industry over the most recent years is that we've tried to add an educational component to the process, thus code compliance. There's an enforcement component to it, but what we realize is that we are limited in that scope, meaning we can make the inspections, do the investigations, issue the notices, issue citations, and that's kind of where our authority stops, because in that case now becomes a solicitor's case, and they prosecute those ordinance violations in the magistrate court of DeKalb County. So not only are the solicitors our partners, the courts are also our partners as well. We have other partners such as, the health department, the building division. All of those folks play a role in code compliance. Sometimes in order to get to compliance, we have to, apply that enforcement piece. And that's just the simple identifying the violation and issuing the citations, getting them in front of a court. So that's the difference in code enforcement and code compliance.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up on our agenda, and we've got other department heads represented in this room, but they're sprinkled throughout, sitting down in chairs. I couldn't get them to come up front, but we're going to get you to stand up and get a mic in front of you. If you could please introduce yourself, if we can start with Director Hayes here. Noah, he's right here. And do we need to get him in the camera view? Okay, there you go.
Good morning, everyone. As said, I'm Director Hayes. I'm Director of Watershed Management. I am a licensed water professional of more than 30 plus years, about 28 of that with DeKalb County. I'm proud to serve as Director of Watershed Management and the many projects and accomplishments that we have going on now. If you don't know Watershed, we're one of the most innovative watershed departments in the country. We have a great deal of technology. We have a very robust program for maintenance and repair and upkeep. Oftentimes, you turn your water on, you get really good water out of the faucet, and then you turn that water faucet off and the water goes away. So we don't think about what it takes to get that water there. Because we don't think about that, it's out of sight, out of mind. And that yields a very old age infrastructure that can fail, that does fail. And that's what's causing a great deal of our issues today. But with our robust maintenance program that we put together and our proactive CERP program, I'm proud to say that we are well on our way to upgrade, upsize this more than 5,000 miles of water infrastructure underground to make it some of the most robust infrastructure in the country. This infrastructure, we're putting a lot of money in it, thanks to the commissioners and their support. We have a capital improvement project that's more than $240 million per year that's going into this infrastructure. And while we are experiencing growing pains, we're having water breaks, we're blocking roadways and things of that nature to get it done. Please be patient with us, because I promise you in the next couple of years or so, we're going to have an infrastructure that will allow DeKalb to be the powerhouse that it is, that it can continue to be. We're going to continue to be able to grow and attract businesses here. So thank you.
Director Hayes, before you turn over the mic, can you just share with the audience how DeKalb County fares in terms of water quality or drinking water?
Very good question. We have one of the most state-of-the-art drinking water facilities in the country here. We use ozonation. We use a highly sophisticated filtration system. We have a decent water source from the start, so we're privileged and blessed to have the Chattahoochee, where we pull our drinking water from, and it's of great quality from the beginning. But take that decent quality water and put it through our system. We do have one of the best tasting waters in the country. We have one of the most safe and healthy waters in the country. So you can rest assured that the water that is being delivered to you is of the highest quality in the country, therefore in the world.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. Next up, we need to get a mic in front of Director Lemke. Yes, I was going to call on you.
Thank you. I'm Rick Lemke. I'm the Public Works Director for DeKalb County. And Public Works in DeKalb County encompasses fleet maintenance, stormwater, roads and drainage, sanitation, and transportation. And the first thing I'm going to do is brag a little bit about my department. And the reason why I want to brag about us is that this year we achieved accreditation from the American Public Works Association. To give you an idea of how big of a thing that is, there's about 200 agencies throughout the United States, actually throughout North America, that are accredited by the American Public Works Association. That's out of about 20,000 cities, or about 3,000 counties. So it is a big deal for us to achieve that. It was a 4-year effort for us to achieve it. And basically what the accreditation process does is it makes us, or forces us, to analyze our policies and procedures and compare them with the rest of the country. And not only do we have to have, and it requires us to examine our policies, our procedures, and not only do we need to be able to document those policies and procedures, but we have to be able to prove that we're actually following those policies. It's easy for anybody to sit down with a piece of paper and write up a policy. It's a whole other thing to follow it, and it's another thing to prove that you followed it. Now, that's not to say that we have perfect systems in place. So obviously we don't. But we are making great strides in getting a system and a program and a department that is better managed and can react more effectively to the needs of the county. A couple of other things that I wanted to talk about as well is I'm probably not really the person who should be doing this, but I want to talk a little bit about SPLOST. And the reason why I want to do that is everybody has been very enthusiastic about the resurfacing that the county has been able to do. Badly needed. Obviously, we've got 2,000 miles of streets in the county that we maintain. Prior to SPLOST, we were only able to resurface about 25 miles of streets each year. Now, when you consider that a resurfacing is going to last maybe 10 years, or that a new street is only designed really to have a life expectancy of 20 years, you can pretty much see that 25 miles a year of resurfacing just isn't going to do it. With SPLOST, we were able to do 300 miles throughout the period of SPLOST. That gives us a big, big head start on being able to catch up with some needs that we have throughout the community. So I really do encourage everybody to think about that SPLOST 2 when it comes to vote this year, that it is important for us to be able to have that resource to be able to pave those streets. The other thing I'll mention about that is that we have had a tremendous increase in pricing. 5 years ago, at the beginning of SPLOST, we were seeing costs for resurfacing to be approximately just under $500,000 per mile. The last 3 bids that were opened by the county were $1 million a mile. So it has doubled in cost. And we're seeing that throughout all of Public Works. David is seeing it in watershed for pipe materials, for, virtually everything we see is going up in price. And, it's not, unusual. It's inflation. It seems like the last couple of years it's been more critical. But you got to realize that the county experiences price increases just the way you do in your household budgets. Think about, what it cost you to buy a dozen eggs if you, at the beginning of the year versus, what it ended up escalating to. So it is important that, we consider those things. The other one that I wanted to talk about a little bit is stormwater needs. Certainly with the storm that we had this week, it might be on top of everybody's mind. Stormwater quite often is one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind. No one really thinks about it until it rains. You got a nice sunny, dry day and, who cares? But, when we got a big storm coming up and you see flooding, you see washouts, you see things that are happening, throughout the system, then all of a sudden it attracts attention. I'm happy to say that we are in a very aggressive process right now to increase the funding that we have. In fact, we've done very well in getting some increased funding to be able to address some of these needs. We have a tremendous backlog of projects of needs. We found out that about 25,000 feet of pipe in our system is corrugated metal pipe. Corrugated metal pipe in this area has a life expectancy anywhere between about 15 to 40 years. And, you can easily see or expect that a lot of that pipe is deteriorated. It's gone beyond its life. It's rusted out. That's what's causing what everybody wants to call a sinkhole. It's a collapse in the pipe. We've got a lot of it, but we're trying to catch up, and we're trying to get a lot of activity going to address those types of issues. And it seems like we're starting to see some progress. So I'm very happy to see that. I think the only other thing that I'll say is I'm not a Steelers fan. Sorry.
That would be this man back here. Neither am I.
Yeah,
that would be him.
But I got to admit, to being a Chicago Bears fan, and I'm not sure if that does anything. So thank you very much. I'll be around afterwards to answer questions if people have any.
Thank you. All right, next I'd like to introduce our Director of Sanitation, Tracy Hutchinson, and she's to the back of the room. You gonna come up front? We need the mic for the folks on YouTube.
Thank you.
There
Good morning,
you go.
everyone. I am Tracy Hutchinson. I'm the Sanitation Director. Just want to go over a couple of things with you in regards to sanitation. Of course, it was hot this week, and we had a lot of issues this week with our trucks. We're just like everybody else. Our trucks are breaking down. Just encourage you to still have a little patience with us. We work, all misses are picked up on Fridays. Give us the opportunity to get there by Friday. So our regular garbage collection is Monday through Thursday. Fridays is our missed day. We know the routes that are down. So on Mondays, we know that we may have 1 route down or 2 routes down or 3 routes down. So sanitation, the next day, you go in reverse. We don't go forward, we go backwards. So we go backwards, pick up the routes that are down before we go forward. So we always coming backwards. So a lot of times, residents will say, well, it's 3 o'clock, you haven't gotten here yet. Normally you'd be here by 10 o'clock in the morning. And then it turns in from 1 phone call, then it's eventually 5 phone calls. So we get it, we understand it. Our top priority is garbage. That is our top priority. You do not want that garbage sitting at your house for 2 weeks. So that's, especially when it's 100 degrees outside and the heat index is 110. So please keep that in mind. Also, I just want to clarify that sanitation is a fee. The residents pay a fee. We're not a part of the taxes, your ad valorem taxes from your homes. So your fee that you pay for sanitation, most homes, the standard fee is $265 a year. You divide that by 12 months, you're paying sanitation $22 a month. You divide that by 4 weeks out the month, you're paying $5.52 a week. So, and that's for 3 passes: the trucks, the driver, the refuse collectors. And we haven't had a fee increase. I've been with the county 19 years. It's been the same rate that I've been here. So our trucks are going up. I mean, tires are more expensive. It's more expensive to get the trucks repaired. So there is a lot of things going on as far as looking at rate increases for the residents also. Not right now, but we did just have some rate increases for the commercial because we had to. A commercial container that used to cost $500 is now $1,000 because the stainless steel is up so high now. And you can't get them. You're constantly calling the vendors saying, do you have any containers available? You got any containers available? So we're there. We're working. Of course, everyone knows that sanitation worked throughout the pandemic. We were the one department, like other departments, public safety, that could not go home. We are essential to the residents, to the neighborhoods, and so we worked basically the entire 2 years. And of course, we were hit by COVID also, because we don't have excess trucks that you could practice social distancing on. You got to get in the truck. We got to get this stuff picked up. So keep in mind, $265 a year, $22 a month, $5.50 a week. These excess bags, I don't know, we're just really, Americans, we're just blessed to have a lot. And we throw away a lot. The excess garbage needs to be placed in a roll cart. I encourage you, I recommend you to get an additional cart. The standard cart is 95 gallon. 2 carts, your rates go from $265 to $408. So instead of paying $22 a month, you pay $34 a month. Divide 34 by 4, you at $8.50 a week, which is still very reasonable. I mean, it's like a deal. It's not the Powerball lottery ticket, but it's a deal. You're getting a deal from sanitation, from DeKalb County Sanitation, because we still picking up yard debris. We have not reduced any services. We still picking up, like a lot of cities and counties, pick up yard debris probably once a month, every 2 weeks. Most cities and counties have just eliminated recycling 100%. We're still picking up recycling, still processing recycling. And sanitation now pay the processor to process recycling. There is no money that comes back from recycling. Years ago, you used to get money for corrugated cardboard. You still get money for metal. There's still metal recycling. But recycling now is just the right thing to do. And I recycle at my house. I'm a huge component of recycling. But I do know that when every water bottle I drop in my bin, you got to pay for that to be processed. Because there is no money associated with recycling anymore. Years ago, China stopped taking the plastic. Now you're just processing it. And so the process of processing it, and of course everyone knows the majority of the plastic goes to Dalton, the back of the carpet. That's the biggest part of the plastics. Everything, the plastic is shipped to Dalton. On the back of the carpet, all that plastic, that's that plastic. So the majority of that, but not every plastic bottle, container, was considered easily to be processed. So, but we do have a valid, I addressed an email the other day, residents said, people keep posting on Nextdoor, you have a fraudulent program. We don't have a fraudulent program. We still picking up recycling. Recycling is still being picked up. I see it come in every day, placed on the transfer station floor. We have glass recycling. You can't put glass in the recycling. Make sure that you look at your top of your lid for your yes and your no. So what we're going back right now is just to let everyone know, if you got excess carts at your house, and if you're not paying for those carts, we're doing an audit in the field. We have got to retrieve those carts back. If you need 2 or 3 carts, come to my main building. We're located off Kensington, right off Memorial Drive, not too far behind the jail. We're at 3720 Leroy Scott Drive. Our lobby is open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. I encourage you to come get the carts. Whatever you do, it's not necessary to approach our trucks and to argue with our employees about not picking up your excess bags. It's just not necessary. Our collectors are scared just like anybody else. We don't know what's going on, who's running out the house. We don't know what's going on. And folks are literally running out the house, running the trucks down. And the collectors are, please don't approach the trucks, because they're scared also, because we don't know what's going on. Do not get upset with us that we're not picking up the items that you are out of compliance on. And so the funniest thing, when I came in this morning, one of my coworkers, Andrew, he introduced me to his wife, who says she's the trash police in her community. Every community probably needs a trash police. Somebody to be, hopefully, it's not like it was, years ago. I remember years ago when I was growing up, everybody knew everybody on the whole street. You went from house to house. Well, that ain't the case anymore now. But take pride in the community. Most communities, most neighbors love their communities. Be fully engaged in your communities. We want your communities clean also, but we got to have the residents to follow compliance-wise when it comes to sanitation. And again, thank you for all the residents that meet our trucks, give us water, Powerade. We certainly appreciate it. It is extremely hot outside. I'm like I was telling someone the other day, it's like a month and a half into the summer. Thank God we haven't had anybody to fall out from dehydration yet. Mm-hmm. At least one employee every summer. So I'm a month and a half into it. I got my fingers crossed, toes crossed, so nobody's falling out yet. So because we encourage everybody, stay hydrated, stay hydrated, stay hydrated, stay hydrated. And it's funny when it's raining and storm, it's a cool off for us. But most people, oh my God, the power's getting to go out with the sanitation. Oh, it's nice and cool because we're hot. Yeah. So just please, and then also I did bring the residential procedures. Robin have them outside. I do have the flyers that say approved and not approved. And then I have the residential collection procedures. The procedures are saying the exact same thing. Excess bags, get an extra roll cart. So and again, I'm Tracy Hutchison. I've been doing sanitation a long time. I hate to say it. People say, how old are you? I've been doing sanitation 29 years. So it's pretty much been my whole career. So I worked in the private sector for 10 years before I came to the cab. I've been to the cab now for 19 years. So plan to retire here. So you'll be seeing me for years to come, hopefully. But again, just please just try to stay in compliance when it comes to sanitation. But I will stick around if anyone have any questions. Thank you, Commissioner Bradshaw.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. I am hiring. Chief Fulham went over the whole credentials. Well, I was just teasing Andrew. My old director used to say, if you could walk and chew gum at the same time, you qualify. We don't even discriminate on age. So we are hiring. We need CDL drivers, but we need collectors and we need crew workers. And gender is, because we have a lot of female collectors. We have a lot of female drivers. And if you got a few issues in your background, we'll work with you. It's okay. Because we think that, I think as a director, everybody deserves a second chance. So, and I'm kind of labeled as the second chance department in in the whole county. Because I do believe that God put me in this position for a purpose. And I do believe in helping people. And I do think that everybody deserves a second chance. So we'll work with the employees. I mean, we just tell them if you got to go on probation or whatever the case is, just communicate with us. Because we want you to stay gainfully employed. But yes, thank you, Rick. We are hiring. If anybody got any, I've gotten a lot of recommendations from coming to these meetings also. So if anybody is, everybody looking for a job, we are willing to work with you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. So you're hearing a lot of information from the directors, and this will be another plug to make sure that you are signed up to receive Commissioner Bradshaw's updates, because a lot of what you just heard from Director Hutchinson, we post that information in our newsletter. So please, if you're not signed up, let your neighbors know, let your friends know, and that's how you're going to stay up to date on what you can put on the curb and what you shouldn't put on the curb. There's two more folks that I want to acknowledge in the room, and if we can get a mic to Andrew, because Tracy mentioned him. And I know you probably came here, thought you were just going to sit in the back, nobody was going to notice you. But for those who receive DeKalb County communications from mainly the CEO's office, Andrew, if you can just introduce yourself and let everybody know what you do for the county. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. I was not expecting to talk. I'm just back here supporting my wife. But my name is Andrew Cawthon. I'm the communications manager for DeKalb County. I work for CEO Michael Thurman. And what I do mainly is send out many of the news releases that you see, and I talk to reporters way too much. So if you're interested in learning more about the community, know more about what's going on, I encourage you to go to the DeKalb County website. There's a section for newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. You get it's called The Relay. That is a newsletter sent out from the CEO. It has all of our a condensation of all of our news releases that we send out each week. Also, I ask you to sign up for Code Red if you haven't done that, and check out our social media pages. So there's several ways that you can find out about DeKalb County events and things to be engaged. Sometimes people tell me they never hear about anything. And I told a woman recently, you got to have ears to hear, so you got to put yourself in a position to find out the information.
Thank you, Andrew. And can I tell y'all a secret? So in our district, I typically write the press releases, Commissioner Bradshaw edits, and I send them to Andrew for another edit of them. So he's tremendous. He's fabulous. Thank you so much for supporting District 4 and making sure that our press releases are A+. Thank you. All right. Last but not least, Darrell, I see you in the background. Come on. We need a mic. We need a mic. Need a mic?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Darrell Blackwell. I work in the DeKalb County Human Services Department. I'm the division manager for the Office of Aging. So we're just working with seniors, and we're really going to do a lot of work in the community, bringing services to folks that are in need. So thank you. Wasn't expecting to talk. Thank you.
Well, that's what happens when you come to a D4Q meeting. Did I miss anybody?
So I got one item. We got Tire Amnesty event this Saturday coming up, the 29th. So the Tire Amnesty, you could bring up to 10 tires. And we're going to have two locations. One would be off Memorial Drive at the Tax Commissioner office, and the other one would be at the landfill at Seminole Road Landfill. So that is a free event to the residents that CEO Thurman wanted me to put in place this summer. So that is this Saturday coming up. I think we forwarded you the flyer for the website. Okay, so it should be on the website already. So again, that would be from 8 to 12. It'll be 4 hours. You transport your tires. We're going to make sure the tires have the vendor there to have them processed. Even tires used to be $100 a ton now, not $450 a ton to be recycled. So but it's a free event to the residents. Take advantage of this event because that is a free event.
Yep.
Thank you.
Tell your neighbors that have tires in their backyard on the side of their house. All right, so we're going to get into Q&A. We lost a little bit of time. Commissioner?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt the flow. I'll give it back to Alicia. There's one more person I wanted to acknowledge. First of all, did any more elected officials or candidates come in? I want to make sure I afford you that opportunity. So, and I mentioned in my remarks about the Senior and Community Center that we opened on Thursday, and I wanted to acknowledge the presence of my former colleague, Commissioner Gregory Adams. I said in my remarks on Thursday that things like that don't just happen, all right? And what it took to get that off the ground was a vote of the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners, and it wasn't a unanimous vote. So on Thursday, I acknowledged the colleagues who stood with me on that day in June of 2018 and took that vote. Commissioner Adams was one of them, so without his vote, it wouldn't have happened. Or the votes of Commissioner Larry Johnson, Marita Davis Johnson, and myself. So Greg, I just wanted to acknowledge you for standing with me that day and for being here today. So thank you. And I will yield back to the person running the show.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, so we're going to get into the Q&A portion of this meeting, and it's really important, and I'll underscore it again. I'm going to hold the mic, or Noah's going to hold the mic. If you can ask your question, and we'll go to our leadership to respond. If there is a question where we don't actually have representation in the room, be assured we will get back to you with the response. All right, you ready, Noah? All right.
So a quick question for really all the leaders. What are you all doing as far as the street racing program? There's still street racing going on. I know it was an outgrowth of lockdown. What are y'all doing for street racing?
Good morning, ma'am. We actually have a fusion unit within DeKalb County. They're not specifically for any precincts, but it's headed up by Lieutenant Donahue. What he does as far as the street racers, a lot of times we're able to head off some of those by social media posts. A lot of the posts that these individuals with the street racers and the takeaways are doing is there are a lot of the social media events that they're kind of under wraps and stuff, and they're very difficult to get into those sort of things. But Lieutenant Donahue has been paramount in finding out the different ones to go through and actually following up with those. Now, when he puts out information, it not only goes to all the members of DeKalb County in a mass email within the county, of course. It goes out to the other leaders, such as Cobb County, Gwinnett County, especially City of Atlanta. And we're trying to head off a lot of those things. The problem is that we are responding to some of those takeaways with so many folks that are actually just so non-compliant to where they're beating on our cars. We had an incident just within, I believe this is the last month, where one of our officers rolled up with several others, and he couldn't get through that they were beating on his car. Now he he was able to get out of that situation with anybody being harmed or anything else, but it's become very dangerous. Some of our policies are in place. We really can't chase any of these type of vehicles. A lot of times we'll solicit the help of Georgia State Patrol, who are able to assist us with a lot of these things and take some folks into custody. But one of the good thing is a lot of their the leaders in the political community and our judges are becoming harsher laws, especially within the county and the city of Atlanta and stuff, where we're able to actually do a lot of follow-up with who these leaders are and take them into custody and hold them accountable for their actions and what they're doing in the community.
Thank you.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Deanna Cawthon. My husband is Andrew Cawthon. He spoke just a minute ago. I just wanted to I don't have a question, I have a comment. I wanted to take a few moments to say thank you to the DeKalb County Police and to DeKalb County Fire. Andrew and I, my husband and I, have an adult daughter who suffers from a mental illness. She's been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. It's a dual diagnosis, and schizophrenia. She's lived with us for a number of years. She's not currently with us right now. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, because she's non-compliant with her meds, she's had some pretty serious issues, crisis in our home, and we've had to call out to DeKalb County Police and fire and ambulance. They've all come out. Our house has been lit up, unfortunately, on many occasions, neighbors looking, all that kind of stuff. But, and I will have to tell you that the mobile crisis teams that have come out with the nurse and all of that, they have been on point. You don't know what it is to have a mentally ill person having an episode in your home, and you're scared, and you've heard things that have happened in, other cities and states, even in our own state, and you're thinking, I don't want anything bad to happen to my daughter, although we need some help. So we've had the appropriate response by first responders has been amazing. My story got out there, and I was invited to speak at the National Alliance for Mental Illness this past May in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was one of the speakers, and the title of my talk was How Appropriate Crisis Response from DeKalb County Has Helped Our Family Cope with Our Daughter's Battle with Mental Illness. And it's out there all over the internet, and it got amazing responses. I just wanted you guys to know that y'all are amazing. We've had folks in our home. We've had the fire people. We've had DeKalb. We've had all the paramedics in our homes. They're in our home, and they're in my daughter's bedroom, and the patience and the professionalism, the respect that they have when they come into our home. It's a very tense situation, and it's awkward and crazy, but they have always made us feel like everything has always been handled so professionally. We never felt once that we were disrespected. They always helped our daughter and got her the help she needed, and we just wanted to say a big thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
If I may, I just want to say thank you. And believe it or not, there are more stories out there like hers. We just need the citizens to push it out more, because first responders, we're still out here doing the best that we are able to do. So I appreciate you bringing a positive, to talk about our response. I really appreciate that.
And the link to my presentation is online on NAMI-CON. It's National Alliance for Mental Illness. It's the NAMI's website. It's on there. So,
thank you. All right.
Stand up. Yes. Good. Oh, yeah, I'm very tall. Yes. Good day to everyone. I just want to piggyback on what my good friend here has just said. I should say thank you to the first responders. I had seizure 3 times, and this lady here thought I was dead. She cried so much. I normally don't sleep with clothes. I don't know who put my pants on. But anyhow, I'm alive. I'm here, right? I am very happy to meet Commissioner Bradshaw. I own a business on Covington Highway. And crimes, I should say, breaking-ins, cutting converters from my cars, and so forth, larceny, and all of that is a big problem in the neighborhood. But I've come to realize that folks need money. They need skill set. They need empowerment. They need education. So the revolving door from their house to the DeKalb County Jail, and when they are released, they go back on the street and break into another car to go back in jail again. My wife is an officer. My daughter is a surgeon in DeKalb County. So we have a big problem with larceny and so forth, and then I have to pay for that. But my mission here today is to seek clarification on the grandfather clause, because DeKalb County had changed, I think, the area of Indian Creek, Memorial Drive and Covington Highway. They make it into a residential neighborhood, and we are impacted by that in a bad way. So I need somebody to address the issue of the grandfather clause with respect to the new overlay that come into effect now. And I have been in business since 2005. Pretty much they're putting me out of business because they ban everything that I do. I've employed over 60 individuals since I came to Georgia. And it is terrible what we are going through. 2 kids in college, and I'm out of business. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to need to take your contact information and follow up with you on the overlay. Did anybody, hold on one second. All right, right here.
Good morning. My question is for Chief Fulham. And I want to thank you for achieving the ISO rating of number 2, but what would it take to be number 1?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. Well, thanks for asking that question. That's something we're striving to do. There are multiple areas where we would have to improve. But I can tell you, part of the SPLOS funding that's building fire stations, there's 2 new fire stations that are coming on board that are going to cover areas that currently we're not able to get to in the appropriate amount of time. So one station is out on Pleasant Hill Road off of 124, if anybody knows that area. And when I say we're not able to get there, what we did, I think it was back in 2016, we have an agreement with Rockdale County, what's called an automatic aid agreement, where they'll respond to that area so that we are covering it. But we are building that fire station, so we'll be able to cover it ourselves. We're adding a station in the Stonecrest Mall area. Once again, this will be a new station, so we'll be adding station 27 and 28. There's some other areas that we're working on to improve, but our goal is to be a ISO 1. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Debbie Gaffman, and I have 3 questions. Can I do that? Because it's 3 different people. So let's see how it goes. I'll go fast. Who is the fire marshal? What's that person's name?
Larry Lobby.
Okay, number 1. And so is he under you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're the boss. Okay, so that's why
My wife would argue otherwise, but yeah.
Here's my next question to you then is, do you think people refuse the ambulance because they're terrified of the cost? I've been hearing horrible things about being startled by getting to the hospital and discovering you owe the ambulance driver $400. Do you think that's a portion of why people are refusing ambulance service?
That could be a component. What we find, and this is something that I'm proud of, but it also can be part of the issue, if you will. When our fire units arrive on the scene, they're going to do that baseline assessment. They're going to check your blood pressure. They're going to check your vitals. And in some cases, what will happen is the individual who may have called for 911 finds himself in a much more comfortable position and will then deny wanting to go to the hospital. So in other words, they call because they believe they need an ambulance. They don't know who else maybe to call. We get on the scene, and we obviously can't force a person to go to the hospital. So we're going to ask you, do you want to go to the hospital? Or we're going to recommend, if we believe that you need to go, that you do go to the hospital. But in some of those cases, that individual, once again, will then refuse further treatment or transport. And so that's where this extra option of them being able to go through the nurse nav, we believe will give them the route, if you will, to get the help they need, but not have to have a unit come to their house.
So do you have to cough up the bucks when you get to the hospital?
Yeah, well, you're going to get a hospital bill, which one I can tell you is much more expensive than going to urgent care.
Okay.
But yes, you do pay for the transportation to the hospital, so you are going to pay an ambulance fee.
Okay, done with you. moving on to the code enforcement. Are you guys working on Brannon Hill Memorial College? I'm just wondering about the apartment owners. They're not doing the thing that they need to do. And when I drive by there are rats at the dumpster running out onto the college campus over there. That's a nightmare, and it's not the only crappy apartments in DeKalb. Is that you guys? And how's that? What are you doing?
So the short answer to your question is yes. I've been with DeKalb 5 years now, and it seems like we're always working on something in Brannon Hills. So what you have is you have a number of different owners of units out there, and then you have the residents that live out there. So I don't know if you're aware or not, but we've done probably more than 80-something demolitions in Brannon Hills, and that's where we determined that the buildings or the units are uninhabitable and dangerous, and we have to petition the court to actually allow DeKalb County to demolish these buildings or to abate these buildings. With that court order, we can go in and do that, and then we'll attach a lien to those properties. One of the things, or one of the challenges that we have out there are, again, the residents or the occupants, whether they be legal occupants or illegal occupants. Somebody has to provide a place for them to go. That's where our community development department gets involved. They also fund some of the demolitions as well. So the challenge is providing the people that live there a place to go when we make a decision to abate a nuisance, which in most cases in Brannon Hills means demolition. So, yes.
Right. And for those who may not be familiar with Brannon Hill is a private condominium association community. Mm-hmm. So it comes with some challenges because it's a condominium association, and it really would take another meeting to talk about what all DeKalb County has invested and done at Brannon Hill, yeah. Because this has been going on for decades now. So we're going to go to this next question.
Just a couple quick things. I'm Lance Hammonds. I am a candidate for DeKalb District 4. Two questions. First thing, I want to just thank East Precinct. We have a group called the Rockbridge Coalition, and we had some issues with car break-ins, and they actually will come to you. They came to us and they gave us some options on how to solve that. So they are very responsive. They do show up. So thank you for your activity. And to Chief Fulham, the question is, I heard the lady talk about mental health, and she kind of asked the question I was going to ask. Is that properly staffed and funded to have those mental health workers to come out and assist the police and our first responders?
Yeah, so the mental health unit that was mentioned, that is a partnership with police and the Community Service Board. So I'll let them answer if you know the answer to that portion. So I'm pretty sure the unit that they're talking about was that co-responder unit.
Yes, it is properly funded, and it's a growing type of situation because just in recent years, and I'll just say it, just in recent years have we gotten to getting people to understand that some of the criminal activity for years that we looked at as criminal activity is really dealing with people that are having some kind of mental crisis issues, which is the reason DeKalb County now have their own separate from the regular responding unit, although they are in a regular police car, but a lot of people don't know that those are mobile crisis units that only respond and deal with mobile crisis calls. And because there is a limit to what we are able to do for somebody, but when we get out there, we want to be able to do our very best, which is the reason we have nurses that are riding with the officers in that car. So when they respond, you're getting what you actually need. We're not trying to put a Band-Aid over it. We're really trying to assist. And if it's something outside of what we're able to do, you better believe we're going to, before we leave, they're going to put you in contact with the right entity and resources to get the assistance that you need.
didn't see you.
That's all right. Steve and Benny in the Clarkston area. Tracy and Steve, I hate to ask for a personal favor, but at the corner of Artesia and Creekdale, there is the beginning of a tire dump site. And if, Tracy, you could have someone look into that, I would appreciate it very much. Also, because of cost, and from the Splosh 1, we only got 275 miles paved, I think, instead of 300, which is fine. That's almost an extra 50 miles a year. I wanted to ask Mr. Lemke if he believes we're going to get funding for another 300 miles under Splosh 2, and would like to encourage Commissioner Bradshaw and the other commissioners to push for that, because I believe that it is needed at least an additional 50 miles a year. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would certainly encourage that, believe me. I would love to see the entire amount of SPLOST, funneled towards roads and all that kind of stuff. But, I know there's a lot of community needs throughout the county. But I certainly do encourage that the funding be appropriated to allow us to do as much as we can.
All right, great. And we checked, and I'm coming back to you. We checked, and we didn't have anyone on YouTube asking any questions, so we can come to you, sir.
No, excuse me. Yeah. Okay. My name is Imogene Archer, and thank you for the information from the fire chief. It's really good information.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me. And I'm back again talking about sanitation. And I've mentioned before that the sanitation trucks have come into Courtney Lane over in Clarkston. It's a cul-de-sac, and the truck actually comes into my driveway and several other people's driveways. Of course, I've sent in emails to to the CEO and the county commissioner. I appreciate the fact that we now have some females in the sanitation department, but we also got some females that are going into the driveway with the trucks. I can't keep saying that. I will take legal action. I have a new driveway, and yet and still, the trucks are actually coming into my driveway. And this is only this one particular new female that is coming up there with the truck that has the arm to it. And because she doesn't want to get out the truck, she brings the truck into the driveways.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Yes, my question is for Chief Fulham. Firstly, I just wanted to thank you for the very informative PowerPoint presentation. And so I've always wanted to be a firefighter. I just wanted to see if you had any advice or any tips as far as what will make a great firefighter.
Absolutely.
I love that question.
Yeah.
Thank you. We need more. Thank you.
As you stood up, I was thinking that you'd make a great firefighter.
I'm going to get this mic this time. I was thinking you would make a good police officer.
Can we turn that mic off? No, please come see me afterwards. Please come see me.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you all for all of the great information you've shared. I would continue to encourage communication in all channels, because I think what you share, other people need to hear it. But my question is in reference to the reduction in our taxes for homeowners. I just wanted to know if that's automatic, or we're going to get another notification or something like that. And I guess, how does that impact everything that you all just said about increasing fees and things of that nature? So.
Somebody want to respond to that? You were just walked in, maybe I didn't hear it. I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, I just wanted to understand the process for the reduction of the DeKalb homeowners tax fees, and then how that may impact some of the discussions this morning about the increasing cost to do the services. Not sure if that's going to be a contradiction.
You're talking about your property tax?
Yes.
Okay, So the tax assessor assesses the properties, all right? And that function is separate. Because I guarantee the last thing you want is politicians, trying to reduce people's property taxes or manipulate that process in any way. I know there's an appeals process if you feel like your property was assessed incorrectly, so my office can give you the information to attend to that. But as a county commissioner, I am not a part of property tax assessment at all, and I guarantee you don't want me to be. Okay. And then with regard to any of the fee increases that we would potentially address over time, we would hear the presentations and appeals made by the department heads, and it would take a majority vote of the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners to enact any kind of fee increase. So did that help a little bit? Okay.
Thank you. All right, we're going to wrap it up.
Thank you so much. I have heard great comments and everything's been said. I take my hat off to the police department, the fire department. I served as a police officer for DeKalb County for a number of years before I got into politics. But I'm so thankful that we have a staff or leaders that help lead this county in the direction it needs to go. I broke my leg. I was riding my motorcycle, and I want to thank the sanitation department because the people, the workers, were kind enough to take my trash and trash can and put them back in the yard where they probably belong. I want to thank that. But I most definitely want to thank Commissioner Steve Bradshaw for the work he has done for District 4. Steve and I, we have similar traits or work together. He was in the military. I was in the military. He was a commissioner. I was a commissioner. At the same time, we're both Steelers fans. That's all right. Y'all, thank you. But I just want to commend him. He has done a dynamic job as commissioner of District 4, and his staff has made him look great. I take my hat off to him.
Look, y'all, I had no idea this was going to be Steeler Day. I had no idea. All right, one last comment. We do have to wrap it up because we are at the hour of time to release you.
Yes, just a quick comment. I am the coordinator of the East Memorial Drive pop-up market. We had our first one in June 3rd. It was fantastic. Thank you very much to Steve Bradshaw, Commissioner Bradshaw, for his support, and other commissioners. We're having a second one, August 5th, first Saturday in August, just a couple of weeks from today. If you're interested in being a vendor, we still have a few vendor slots available. $50 vendor fee. You can pick up one of these brochures outside, or just come by and buy some of the wonderful things that our artisans, our creators are making and selling. It's fantastic. Anything from body butter to sea moss, whatever that is. So come on out and get your goods on. Thank you.
All right. We want to thank everybody for coming this morning. We want to thank our department leads. And just want to remind everybody to tell a friend, tell your neighbors that you can come to a quarterly in the fourth community breakfast meeting hosted by Commissioner Steve Bradshaw, District 4, and have representation from all the various departments of DeKalb County. In my opinion, it's the only one that's happening in the county. Thank you.